All right. So today obviously is a little bit different since we're wrapping up our CIMA session. So I don't really have anything to teach you, but we're going to review, as I said, we're going to review everything that we've learned so far, um, what AI is looking like now, and what we could possibly build together. So I have this fun monkey here celebrating everyone that's been joining our sessions. And it's about actually just taking a step back and looking at what's changed for you in these past 8 months, right? It was never really about being an expert with AI. That's nearly impossible if I'm teaching for 30 to 40 minutes once a month. But the real idea was that you start to think about AI in a different way. You start to think about how it can be incorporated in your business, even in your personal life. So I'm hoping that these sessions have actually provided that shift for you. And what I'm hoping for is that we'll zoom out of what we've learned, and then we'll zoom into what's coming next. But before we do that, this is kind of like the AI system that we have been going off of. For those that have joined this, most of our sessions, this should look familiar. So we started with like understanding what AI is, right? How it works, how it's trained, how the LLMs can use and store knowledge about your team, your company, your role. Also interact with other tools. Then we built a repeatable knowledge-based system through a custom GPT, which I believe was a research agent, and it had context of your role, your business, the type of research that you do. We also learned about automations, and when you add AI into automations, we looked at Zapier together. Then we talked about agents and how agents are built. And in our session, what we did was we explored Manus AI, which is an agentic tool. And then our last session, we learned about governance. But most importantly, you learned that you're always in the driver's seat. How you talk to an LLM, how you build a system, how you're conversing with AI, you're always in charge. And the whole process wasn't random. It was set up for you to understand from A to Z as much as we could. And that was the whole idea of having these sessions. So I have the fun monkey again, celebrating us again. Okay. So where AI is today. So most people, as I talk to clients and just people in business, they're still using it at a tool level. They're prompting with it, they're generating images, they're experimenting, and that's fine. And that's an excellent place to start. But the world is moving into more towards workflows, more towards building agentic systems. So it's getting less about interacting and asking better questions and more about structuring of how you would want an AI system to work and be involved in your day-to-day. So things like agents and apps and even voice is starting to get more popular, not as trends, but companies are trying to use it and embed these systems into their companies, into their workflows. And also at the same time, like trust is always very important. Brand trust ethics are, when it comes to AI, they're no longer a side conversation. They're becoming a part of how companies are setting their governance. I want to quickly talk about where the gap is. Again, a lot of people are using AI, using it in isolated ways. Different team members are using it in a different way. I literally have a client right now, and they wanted AI. And I was like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean for your company? What does it mean for your team? Oh, we need workflows and agents. But who's going to manage that? I can come in, I can help you build those systems, but does your team understand how to govern these systems, how to manage them, how to continuously evolve with them? So what I learned was that everyone's using AI, but in an isolated way. And that's the difference. Like AI can make you work faster, but if you structure it in a way where you can operate, where you need to like make it a part of an operation. That's the gap a lot of companies are experiencing right now, because a lot of employees are using AI, but then at a team or a company level, everyone's a little bit isolated. So I love coffee. And so I came up with this idea as I talked to a lot of teams. And this is something that is on my website, and it's absolutely free to use. So go ahead and please use that. So I built something because a lot of teams and have too many inputs, too many decisions, and not enough structure. So if you navigate to my website, I have a tool called the AI Brew, because everything that I do is like related to coffee, and I love brewing AI. So what you do is you kind of like brain dump what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't have to be related to a team. You could be an individual. So I came up with this example for our session. We spend too much time every week pulling campaign data, updating reports, trying to figure out what's actually working. It probably takes me about 5 to 6 hours a week, and it still feels unclear. And then what you do is you add all of your tools in here. And then you start your AI brew. Okay, and then on the next page, you'll see it's actually, figured out where the redundancy is. And anything that you've missed, you can add it on here. Now, in my example, I just put that it was like a one-person problem. So I'm going to use you, Todd, since I see you in the top corner. So let's say person A is Todd, and then you are a campaign analyst, and you're doing all of these tasks. And you're spending maybe about 7 hours a week on this, and you're salaried at 120. Now, let's say we had another person in this company that was doing the same thing, and we'll call them Gage, because I see you next. And you're also a campaign analyst. And then maybe let's say Gage is only some analyzing and summarizing. So he's not doing the aggregation of the data. So let's say he is pulling in about 5 hours, and then he's also at 120 to keep things straight. Here, I mean, this is simple math, but here it'll show you that across 2 team members, you're losing 12 hours, 35K a year, and it's costing you $17,000. And then you get to see your brew. And here you get to, again, see how much you're losing. And then here you get a clear picture of like, you can create an automation. Why would this be an automation? You could build an agent for this. Why an agent? So that's basically what, something that you can do with, it's a free tool on my website. Feel free to use it. I'll share that in the deck. But to be fully honest with you, like I built this tool and I am not a technical person. So this is where AI is heading. I know I'm jumping a little ahead from my slides, but this is where AI is heading, where we're able to code our own problems and not only use it ourselves, but also make it available for others to use. So again, where is this going? We're seeing more agentic workflows where parts of a company can run with more autonomy, of course, with earned autonomy, with human in the loop. And you never want to hand off any autonomy to an agent right from the get-go. So it takes time for your agent to get trained. We're seeing more apps and interfaces being built around AI. So it's not just, again, chat interaction. It's something that people can use in their day-to-day work, something like AI Brew. And even things like voices are just part of like reducing friction. I know someone that has like a salon, and they have like the first line of their phone call is a voice agent. And based on if it's scheduling or if it's following up, it'll route to the right person. So if someone's asking about hours or, hey, I want to make an appointment, it will actually run that call to the receptionist. And then they also have a part where if someone had an appointment and they were like, I want to talk to my stylist, it'll validate if that person actually has an appointment, and then actually connect them to that stylist. So voice agent is also, that's getting more and more popular. And at the same time, we need to be a little bit more responsible with AI as well. So separating AI from ethics, brand trust, client trust, company trust is becoming more and more prevalent. So what comes next? I love my little animations, and I'm like sad that I didn't use them in my prior lessons. But this series was really about like building awareness and getting comfortable with it. But the way AI is evolving now is a little bit more different. Less about learning more and more about building. Everyone's building workflows, turning them into something structured. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that's not something that we can do in 30 minutes once a month. It'll require more time, more training, more hands-on work. And it would likely be a different type of session. So if you have attended most of these and you're like, okay, I think I get what this is, but I don't know how to apply it, that's exactly where the transition point is. And I know Gage and I are in the works of discussing of like what could come next as like CIMAi series 2. But something that I have been doing and I've seen like my peers do is like building artifacts and clods, like custom GPTs, where you're adding tools and you're connecting it with your Slack and Notion. Claude Code is really big. And of course, like agent building. That's been an ask from Purdue's Leadership Institute, and also like with DePaul and some of my clients who are like ready to go beyond workflows. Then you have apps like Lovable and Base 44, who are helping non-engineers like me bring great ideas to life. So that's what's coming next. So stay tuned for what that means for series 2. And I know we don't have a lot of people on the call, but if you scan that QR code and then rate these AI series and just drop in, you'll see an option, you'll see a quick question in there like what you would like to see next. I'll show you something really cool, but I'll give you about like a minute to do this. What does that say, Todd? I can't see your.
What's that?
Oh, you were like showing your phone.
Oh
so
yeah,
I
no,
sure.
I was taking a picture of the code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were like showing that the link wasn't working or something.
No.
I want to know how many humans we have on the call. I see Barb. Hey, Barb. Carlos. If you all can give me like a quick thumbs up when you're done with this, then I can show you something really cool.
I think we have about a dozen people. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, because I'm sharing my screen so I see my slides.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I am not an engineer. I want to say that over and over again. But this is something that I built over the course of 3 weeks. What it does, and it's something that's, again, useful for someone like me who is an entrepreneur and an advisor, who's teaching, who's running sessions. This is a way for me to get feedback. So what Chirp is, I called this platform Chirp. what it does is, and it's free for everyone to use for up to 3 chirps. What it does is that if you are giving a speech, if you are running a presentation, if you are doing a workshop, if you are even like a cleaner or lawnmower, and you have a bunch of clients and you're like, I just would love any feedback. So that's what I created. It's anonymous. So the user doesn't have to put their name or information. And that's what's great about it. You can if you want, but by default, it's anonymous. So what I want to show you right now is that since you've taken my survey, I'll show you what the results were. So maybe Gage, this will help us further our discussion. Okay, so here, oops. View feedback. Well, it doesn't, it says I don't have any chirps for this. Okay. So I see feedback here. Students could have been better. I liked Manis, great teacher. Thank you for all of these comments. But I'm surprised that, were you able to fill in like what you wanted? Were you able to see like Claude Code agent building or app building?
I don't remember seeing that. I just remember being able to give feedback.
Yeah, same,
Okay.
same here.
Okay, interesting. All right. I'm going to see.
It also did not default to anonymous. It defaulted to putting your information in. You had to turn that off.
Oh, I see a lot of anonymous here. There should be a toggle where you should be able to just turn that off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just didn't default to off for me. It was on and I tried to.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's a bug that I need to fix. But, and this obviously didn't go as planned because I wanted to capture what y'all wanted, like Claude Code, app building, or agent building. But I do believe that you know, we can build something like this in a workshop. Again, someone that is non-technical whatsoever. I have never coded in my life, and I was able to build this platform. It's 3 weeks old. I haven't even published it to the world yet because clearly it has bugs and I need to work on that. But this is something that you know, we could do in the future where we are building apps together. We're solving problems. For example, this was a problem for me because I wanted feedback for each session. And I didn't think of this app until like a couple weeks ago, and then it was in the works. Going back to our presentation. So that is all I had for today because it's a super short session. It's one of our last sessions. And for those that were able to join, thank you so much for joining each time and investing in yourself. And I know that you're 30 minutes is not enough, but at least I'm hoping that your understanding and being a little bit more comfortable with AI has improved from when you started in October. Also wanted to say that I'll be starting like a monthly email series, something super light, just once a month, very intentional, no noise. And if you are interested in that, just use my CIMAi email and just like quickly say hi. So once a month, I'll share what I'm learning, what I'm building, and how AI is actually showing up in real world use cases. And that is it. And I'll hand it off to Gage for closing thoughts, and then we'll meet our guests for today.
Yeah, so this has been a tremendous like 8-month course that Kajal put together completely by herself. So we really want to thank her and applaud her for bringing this to CIMA, saying that she could help us all go from 0 to 100 with our AI, or at least get the ball rolling. So I still, you know, want to be one of those I think I'm beyond the early adopters, but like, you know, we're all, the fact that we're here doing this means that we're taking that leap. So on the, you know, the hobby side, or the what's the right word for this, the recreational side of this, we wanted to bring in Heather. So she is at Ogury, and she was going to share on the professional side of things some things for us to learn. So it's muted.
Details. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I was like making sure that I didn't have background noises or dogs barking. But thank you so much for the intro. I appreciate it. I've been following along with the course. I wasn't always able to attend on Monday nights, but was looking at the recaps and the videos, and all of those things are helpful. But my name is Heather Hoffer. I'm here at Ogury, as Gage mentioned. I'm a sales director here in Chicago, and I've truthfully been working with companies that have been leveraging AI for about the last 13 years. So that goes back to DSPs and platforms that, you know, were leveraging AI when companies said they had AI, but it wasn't really AI, but those companies were. So it's been a really interesting evolution over really like the last decade, seeing how AI has gone from the programmers and the data scientists and those people. And now we have these tools in our hands where we can leverage similar technology for our own uses. But let me share my screen because I have a couple of thoughts where Kajal and Gage had asked us to share like what might the future of AI look like, and what are some use cases that we have from our organization. So hopefully you see presentation mode. Thumbs up. Good. Okay. I love it when it actually works. And Ogury, the company that I'm working for today, we are a digital marketing solution. We're an audience reach engine. So essentially we're creating different targets, different audiences for brands to leverage for reaching consumers through a variety of different publishers. So it's very top line of where we fit in the ecosystem. But as I was thinking about what AI looks like, I kind of was reflecting on the last 8 months of the things that you were chatting about here, and what does that look like moving forward? And there's so many different facets of AI, as everyone's learned, both for personal uses as well as professional uses. And then I've loved hearing how other partners and different brands are leveraging AI as well. So lots of different ways to leverage it in a real life use case. Same thing with how can we simplify the complex? I feel like that's something that the platforms that we have access to today make it seem so simple, even though there's so many different decisions and understanding and things happening on the back end, but also rolls up into efficiencies on how can we be more efficient in our thinking, and then also leverages of time. So as we're looking at like bigger transformations, and a lot of these things truthfully are here. There's companies that are doing this today. There's companies that have been doing this, and, you know, companies that are continuing to evolve this, of leveraging that predictive intelligence. How can we make those decisions faster? And how can they be more accurate? How can they be privacy safe, knowing that there's rules and regulations, and these models like the chat GPTs and others that are out there are being built off of the data that's being put into them. So how do we help make sure that that's privacy and safe, and the right information is out there versus the wrong information? From a brand targeting perspective, how can we better understand our audiences? What are insights? And working in the media space, how do all of those things lead up to driving better media quality for our brands and our advertisers and our agencies? So kind of what's happening today, a lot of this was just touched on. So I'm glad my head was in the right space. But looking at kind of that evolution of what we're seeing within AI, of the automation of, okay, let's plug in a code, let's get an answer. I'm asking a question, I want that direct answer. But how does it then evolve into actually making a decision? You know, and then ultimately with the goal of understanding and thinking and functioning kind of independently. So we know that AI is evolving beyond that copy and image generation that was talked about by the Pixability team at the beginning, where you can, it's actually cool. I was using it to design gardens personally this weekend, but also was looking at, could I create a mock for clients? So we know that that's kind of that baseline, but what could we do to bring more? And that next generation of AI is continuing to evolve that audience prediction and who might be interested in seeing those ads. How can we start to leverage more thinking, not just the media optimization from an operations bucket, which Kajal just mentioned, of how do we take that from an operations and move it into more different types of efficiencies? Are there different intent models that are happening? What's the likelihood of somebody buying that product? What are real-time campaign adaptions that are happening? Thinking back to the cognitive team last week, sharing how he bought a white shirt that's continued to follow him through the process, but not having the right data points to know that that's out of budget. Or, I already bought a different white shirt. How can we take more data points and plug it into these fields to then have smarter planning workflows? So then it goes into that third bucket of understanding of the future is, yes, faster insights, but also making better strategic decisions. How can we reduce some of that manual work? An example here that Ogury has is, we have adopted some agentic tools that are helping execute media plans. And how is that taking in different ideas of, what's the right media mix combined with different audiences and budgets? And I think, how do we take that process, which is very specific as, media sales, but it allows us to be faster and allows us to be more personal with the details. So again, it all bundles into how can we be more intelligent when it comes to media buying and taking all of this data that's out there to have it make sense. And I think too, when it comes to, if you can't beat them, join them. I think looking at what's happening in this particular group and the willingness to learn a tool, and not just how do I write a prompt and do that, that's, step one, but you've been building some pretty complex things. So it's how do you work alongside the tools and manage the outputs? I think from us as individuals and learning this wave of AI that is coming fast and constantly evolving and is being used by so many different businesses, how can we help ourselves learn more of that? And that's the same thing with AI creating new work categories. As Kajal mentioned, new different divisions on how do you solve different problems. The brewing example with her coffee of identifying efficiencies and cost savings and leveraging AI in other ways that maybe, you could create a cadence if you're keeping it pretty simple with a Chat GPT or a Claude of, hey, here's the scenario, let's run a cadence and keep building and adding and learning and, creating its own evolution within that one chat folder is certainly an option. But I really think it goes to, that challenge too of the process-driven roles. Like you have to learn to get ahead, and all of us have sat here to learn more about AI. So I think everyone's taking those right steps to learn the tools and the language so that we as individuals are moving forward yourself to where the value is versus watching others kind of pass by. And then when it comes to AI, there's so many different solutions. And I started to think about it as another bucket of it's this fantastic tool that allows you to create almost to infinity. You don't like the answer, you don't like the design, have it be refined. You don't like the insights, how can we change that prompt? How can we adjust it? And AI is making that infinite supply of creation. And it's kind of fun. It's cool to see, okay, I've seen others in our industry create different personas, if you will, in their AI platforms for their clients, different C-suites. And they'll enter in information of, hey, here's what's happening, here's their personality, here's how they respond. And they're using it to help predict an outcome of what might happen when there's a shift in the company. How can we best get ahead of some of those conversations? So I think there's this always growing place and space, and this content is out there and it can be amazing. But I think we need to start thinking about what are the guardrails, knowing that the output is only as good as the input that's coming into it. So from a marketing standpoint, what does that future look like? It's making sure you're using the trusted environments. From media partners, you're not just taking that output and putting it out there, but also what's that, the quality that's there. As humans, as we know, even back to the first session with Pixability of, don't just copy and paste the answer from a Chat GPT because it's not always right. And all of that leads into how can we continue to drive that meaningful engagement, even though there are these fantastic tools that can help think and function that are here today. And from that, I started to think about, how are people going to be winning with AI in marketing? And I don't know if it's the ones who have the most data, because there's so much data that's out there, and there's a lot of good data, but there's a lot of bad data. But it's the companies that are going to have the best understanding and how to use the tools, writing the programming, and then also have the best understanding of how to leverage that data. So it kind of goes to a lot of the foundations that have been shared throughout this process of you're sitting with those platforms on top of data, whatever that looks like. If it's your own company data, if it's general data, it's how can you understand the data to help you move forward. And then, of course, privacy first is always, I think, going to be helpful of making sure that, as you're not uploading your personal information, or for me, it's, within our own agentic AI tools, making sure that I'm uploading the right information so that something that's sensitive or under an NDA isn't being publicly shared. And all of this boils up to, or distills down to, the goal of how can we understand people, and for us, it's audiences. How can we create all of that intelligently and respectfully, knowing that AI is this fantastic, powerful tool that can help bridge that gap between privacy and performance. And that's kind of just like the top line of where, chatting internally of where we think AI might be going. A lot of these steps I think are here, but they're just going to continue to be evolved. And I think from where Ogury sits and where, chatting with our agency partners and our brand partners and other digital marketers in the space, it's really looking at that data baseline and kind of where are their challenges? Where are their holes? What's an industry problem? And one thing that we here at Ogury see a lot, and these are some industry stats, is it's all about signal loss. And this is very specific to digital marketing and advertising. And I apologize for not knowing if everybody on the call falls into that space. So maybe this is new, or maybe it's just repetitive, but it kind of goes into that fueling that funnel of the right level of data. And as we think about digital marketing and the data that's available, you're allowed to say, I don't want to be marketed to. You're allowed to say no to cookies. Cookie deprecation is here. Even though Google was trying to get rid of it, it's still here. So roughly 50% of the open web today is without cookies. So as you're thinking about, digital marketing and how we're leveraging our AI tools, there are gaps in the marketplace where we're seeing holes of how we can target people. And I'm getting to how our company is using the AI, building the platform of, that signal loss is huge when you're looking at different platforms. These are gaps in the marketplace where maybe that data isn't fully updating into systems and platforms. Roughly 70% of the open web have opted out of cookie targeting. And in the space that we work, that's a huge baseline for audience targeting. And if you don't have those signals, you've got to figure out another way to do it. Same thing when it comes to mobile devices, knowing that iOS doesn't allow tracking and targeting and things like that. So as we as a company try to figure out how do we continue to reach more people, how do we leverage the AI platforms that we're using, for us, it's through specifics within surveys. So it's zero-party data, which may be a newer phrase to some, but really that is simplifying it as a consumer is willingly giving us data. So this is done as survey format, running on a publisher's website. And the type of survey questions that we're asking, it can be everything from preference data to purchase intention, personal context, interests. Globally, we're looking at billions of different data points, and these are all in the form of survey answers. So where does the AI come into play? It's how do we make sense of all of these different data points? How do we find out if someone is an intention for cars? Are they going to be having a family soon? All of those different things that a consumer could target comes from the baseline of a survey question. All of this is updated on a regular basis. So the volume is huge and high, and you need to have a system to help understand and make sense of that. So as we're looking to target consumers, the examples that I pulled together were all auto related. But it's things like, are you looking to consider buying a hybrid car? Okay, that's one data point. But what else is happening on a web page? What is the user scrolling? What's their time spent? what's happening in the other systems leveraging AI, like your DSPs and your tech platforms? What's happening when a bid request comes through of an ad having been called to be filled? What's open source data? So what's data readily available? Are they talking about if it's a health product or an over-the-counter pain medicine or allergies? Are they talking about allergies and pollen counts? There's all of these different data points, and it's through our AI that we're able to distill that down into what we call personas, which is how you can target an individual. Taking things another step further of now we have all these data points. We understand who a consumer is, from whether it's the survey qualifiers to other content that's consumed, all the way down to interests, keywords that are used. But where I think AI starts to, and where I'm leveraging it on another level through various agentic tools, was the section on the right, which is under the custom persona details. Technically, those are insights. The example that I pulled today were specific to EV trucks and SUV shoppers. So somebody who's expressed in market for a very specific type of car. I was then able to create the right prompts within the various agentic tools to cross-reference insights from our data and our personas into what happens for the Chevy EV suite of trucks and SUVs. So it allows us to combine multiple different platforms to help drive those insights, again, to move beyond just what would the person who would be buying XYZ type of an SUV look for, but rather now it's tangible. There's numbers and indices against it, comparing all different levels of data. So I know that's kind of quick and that's a lot, but it's another way of how we're leveraging different agentic tools for both planning, pre-campaign insights, post-campaign insights to make sense of all of that different data. So as we think about what's happening tomorrow, what is that future of AI looking like? I don't think marketers are going to be replaced. I think it's about more of that evolution and how do we use these tools, whether personally, professionally, again, specific to my media world that I live in. It's about how can we understand people? And it's now not just that transactional element, but now there's an understanding. And it's not just that ad campaign that goes out there, but here's how we're reaching the real people of whether there's a signal or not a signal where you needed to create a new signal to add it into that mix to help break through the noise that's there. So it's all about being bigger, faster, while also still being precise at the same time. So I really think that that's, where we see the future, as well as what we're seeing with our brands and advertisers. And that was it, with a little thank you slide.
Amazing.
But yes, but happy to answer any questions, but it's a lot of insights, understanding how do we make sense of all of the big data that's out there to make something tangible for brands that they can find those right people.
If you do have any questions or follow-up, I believe all of these calendar invites have come from my email. You should also have Kajal's email from any of these, so please reach out. This was a long 8-month series, but we really want to start something up again. So hopefully you've taken something away from this, and all the recordings will be posted on our YouTube. So if you missed January or December, go back and watch those, and ask us any questions, leave comments on YouTube, we'll answer them. So really excited for this. This was truly like a test. I think it went really well. We had people joining from Los Angeles, Vegas, all over the place. So it was kind of cool to do this remotely. And we even had 1 or 2 sessions in person, which was a ton of fun. So a majority of CIMA things are in person. We had that DePaul event last week, but it's kind of nice to just have these available, recorded for you to watch later. So I really appreciate everybody who contributed to make this possible, all of our industry partners, and then everybody who joined, because you really helped with your show and tell, the Q&A, everything that contributed to make this great. So with that, I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.